Okay, today, folks, we're going to be, well, stuck here till God knows when playing Storm Over the Desert. Yes, this game takes pretty much forever and a day to, well, get anywhere in this game, simply because the slow, unresponsive controls of the tanks, and the absolute lack of challenge in this game, considering that anything you touch will turn to crap. It's kind of like the reverse Midas touch of you, except with destruction and massive-ass Saddam Hussein's. I don't really understand why Saddam Hussein is so ginormous in comparison to the tank. I don't know, I'd never really thought of him as such a large person. I know he was a bit on the fat side, but not a massive thing that is bigger than a whole army of tanks. I guess another thing I could complain about is why is it called Storm Over the Desert and it takes us to level 2 until we're actually in a desert. I do not think there are any real grassland in Arabia. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure there'd be some. I thought for the most part that Arabia is just full desert area. I know I'm sort of generalizing, stereotyping, but I know, like, the first thing I don't think of when I think of the Arabian desert is a whole bunch of lush forests and vegetation. I do not associate vegetation with deserts at all. That just goes for anywhere, not just in Arabia. I mean, there's the Sahara Desert. I'm sure there would be some vegetation, but not a whole lot where it's all just green and everything. And even here in Australia, you go about 100 kilometers away from the sea, everything's all red and barren, and it's just a wasteland. An uninhabitable wasteland. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of soldiers as well that you could kill. And also, let's just say that this game has absolutely no challenge whatsoever to it. An improvement I suggest about this game is probably actually making it so we die. In the Genesis port of this game, there is actually a version of this which is pretty much the same thing, except every time you fight, it's pretty much the absolute reverse. Every time you get hit, you will get killed pretty much instantaneously. And the tanks pretty much take about 500, 600 hits to kill. It's almost as impossible as trying to beat Jaws on the first attempt. It just won't happen. I mean, eventually I do just get sick of this game, just say, yeah, whatever. It's just taking up too much of my time. Well, right here. And there is a title to this one, so I guess they were hoping that, well, Storm Over the Desert would be one of the more popular games on the Action 52. Fortunately not. So let's play Mashman. This game looks strangely weird. That better not be that old naked guy from Mushman. And we're gonna crush everything that looks remotely like characters from Monsters, Inc. I mean, seriously, look at them. They have like that one eyeball thing. It's like that. I can't remember the names of the characters from there. You know, there's that big blue thing and the green other dude with the one eyeball, and it just sort of looks like that. Reminds me a lot of Monsters, Inc. The weird thing about this game, you step on enemies, they die. You run into enemies, they kill you. It's just like a horribly bad, terrible version of Mario, at which I am absolutely no good at. As it also suffers from the same unresponsive controls as pretty much every other platformer on Action 52, in which you have to hold down the B button for one. That's one bad thing. But you have to hold down the B button and then move your control pad to the right to actually get above an obstacle or a pit. Otherwise you're going to do nothing except for like jump around like a moron or just run straight into an enemy, which pretty much happens every single time I play this game. I also decided to have another crack at it, even though I just decided pretty much soon after this it was just I didn't want anything to do with this at all, and I would rather move on with my life as opposed to play this godforsaken shit game. They came. What came? Who came? Did it come? I don't know. It does. The game is, I guess, at least appropriately titled. I mean, the music does give off some sort of sense of, well, some post-apocalyptic wasteland involving aliens. I guess that's something you could involve with a titling like They Came. It is pretty poorly titled, I do have to admit. Again, it is another one of these generic little space shooter things. At least it's not a scrolling one, so I'll give it that. You're on just one board and you pretty pretty much have to find everything. I don't really know what those pea egg things do, but I thought it was just a good idea to collect them. So I suppose they'd give you points and actually give you some sort of inroads towards progressing a level in this thing, because we all know what these Action 52 games are like, with retardedness, and you actually have to get a decent score. You can't actually cheese levels to get through certain levels, much like what the Jaws rip-off game was, Sharks. But I actually got to level 2, and you'll see something in a second here where I got incredibly pissed off at. You see those whole pink wiry things that pretty much inhabit 3/4 of the screen? The game will decide pretty much on a whim when you get hit by them. You'd assume they're bad and you avoid them, but sometimes you just run into them and nothing happens. What happened to me was I actually went into that middle pink one thing that you had to go around. Not that one, the one in the middle where the lobster thing is shooting at, but I got shot by the lobster. And I was sitting in there, nothing happened, I came out and it died randomly. There it goes. That really pissed me off when I was playing that. Simply because, what was that designed to do? It's just very lazy level design on behalf of the people that designed this game, Active Enterprises, game developers. Then again, this is pretty much par for the course for considering everything we've seen so far. Again, pretty much unresponsive shooting controls of your enemy here. If you actually do intend to beat this game, God knows why, you are going to be having to dodge a lot of enemies, and it probably would be more advisable to actually dodge enemies than to take them head on, because you don't have enough time to dodge. Anyway, I just got a game over there, and we're going to be moving on to the next game, Laser League. Seems like something you'd involving a laser tag tournament of death and destruction, and it could actually make some sort of good game. I might try that someday if I ever go into game developing. Making a big laser tag shooter game called Laser League and actually make it somewhat interesting. Unlike this game, which is pretty much just like another generic space shooter, except we are a person with that is on fire, I suppose. Is it fire? No, it's one of those propeller things on the back of him. Always wanted to fly in a jetpack. Unfortunately, I have never been able to do that. Well, basically because, well, do they exist? No. I don't know. I heard something they do exist, and you have to pay like 200 grand to fly in one, and it only works for like 10 seconds, and it just defeats the whole purpose of the thing. But yes, this game is just like every other game, where you have to avoid the enemies instead of shooting at them, or shoot at them if you have the time, because you'll get the sweet, delicious points. But otherwise, just avoid them, and you can pretty much avoid everything by hanging down the bottom. And we actually made it to a boss this time, so strategy with him is, or this turret thing, is basically just everything's moving really slow and you have the speed advantage. You'll come over to the left of the screen, you can't do anything, so just dodge the bullets. It is kind of lame about this game. Also, they only can fire one thing at a time. And when he's coming towards you, just make sure, while still avoiding the bullets he fires, to fire the laser at him. And I'm not going to make any stupid references and stupid memes that I don't care. Just in before any of that stuff happens. But I digress. As he comes into you, just fire the laser straight at it and it will maximize the damage and he'll eventually go out. It is kind of stupid though how he does go over to the left thing and you are pretty much completely defenseless, or you can't attack him whatsoever. I mean, if you could turn around and actually shoot, that would actually be nice, but no. Game developers still continue to be lazy and do absolutely nothing to improve the game. Like, they seriously, I would like to know the actual development time Active Enterprises put into this game, or these games as a whole. They probably spent more time marketing than they actually did developing the game. Bit of a problem these days with video games, in my opinion. But anyway, time is almost running out, and I almost die, so next time on Action 52 we're going to be playing something else. Well, we're going to be playing Billy Bob. And the good thing is, we're on the last screen of the game, so we're nearing the home stretch. So thank you all for watching, good night.